me a story.
Story.
I'm going to make a bold claim here. I think that Controversy is actually one of the most important albums Prince ever created, and this is why. This is where Prince really lifted his vocal confidence to a stratosphere that he maintained from this moment onwards. The previous album, Dirty Mind, displayed Prince as a sexually confident, daring, taboo-busting artist, but it is only with the release of Controversy that we see a newfound confidence, belief and abandon in Prince's vocal stylings. Controversy contains some true classic Prince anthems, the launch of the big, bandstanding, iconic ballad with Do Me Baby, and some of the strangest, most intriguing songs Prince ever recorded. The lengths of some of these songs also displayed Prince's ability to ride a groove, something he would take to new heights when 1999 was released as the next album. Prince courted controversy fully with this album, and was rarely as specific with his political and religious references, and yet still many statements were ambiguous and multi-layered. Prince extolled the virtues of a new breed who would stand up and organise, and here Prince was on the cusp, the very verge, of making a huge mainstream breakthrough. Released in October 1981, Controversy was largely a one-man band creation, although Prince did utilise the talents of Bobby Z, Lisa Coleman and Dr. Fink. At just over 37 minutes in length, it would be a while after this album before we saw a project this short. Prince had been honing his performance in the live arena, and Prince's videos, such as those for Controversy and Sexuality, began to really exploit the visual and largely mesmerising experience of Prince performing. Controversy was described by a critic at the time as a necessary growing stage, which, whilst true, is somewhat unfair to this album, which touches upon religion, race, sexuality, gun control, politics, romance, and media and public perception. Controversy also spun off 4 singles and an American tour. Certified gold in 1982 and platinum after the success of Purple Rain, it has remained a classic. It's time to explore the controversy of this album. So let's work.
I just can't believe all the things people say. Controversy.
The true appreciation of a Prince song is not always immediate, but this song has become one of Prince's most iconic songs, performed hundreds of times. Just the initial few bars of the chicken grease guitar has the crowd on their feet. This song, rather like When Doves Cry, sounds as if it was recorded yesterday, fresh, funk-laden and perfectly arranged. I just can't believe all the things people say. Controversy. Am I black or white? Am I straight or gay? Controversy. Prince takes a step back and seems bemused by all the comments and mystery surrounding him. But it is very deliberate in not answering any of these questions. Prince almost derides the level of interest in these areas, for Prince has other questions he finds much more intriguing. I said life is just a game, we're all just the same. Don't you want to play? Was it good for you? Was I what you wanted me to be? One of the disturbing joys of some Prince tracks is when Prince throws in some deep, emotionally hard-hitting lyric into an upbeat funk groove and suddenly adds some true, reflective gravitas to proceedings. He famously did this with When Doves Cry, frantically trying to establish the roots of his personality complex stemming from his parents. In Controversy he asks, "Does your daddy cry?" Musically, this groove has to be one of the most perfectly constructed Prince has ever created. You can tell this by the fact that after over 7 minutes of funk, you are disappointed that the track comes to an end. I love the way Prince builds up the track from a thudding drum program with rubbery reverb response countering the stark beats and adds the delicious, jangling, chicken grease guitar, which will become an absolute staple of the Prince canon. The contrast of the deeper baritone Prince vocals balancing perfectly with the falsetto response of the song title to the fully fledged, all-out building climax and then further breakdown of the disconcertingly digitally shaped rendition of the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come.
Prince's call and response refrain of controversy is just so Prince, encapsulating both what the public and media thought about him throughout his career and toying with the idea, playfully riding the funk. The Lord's Prayer at 3 minutes 30 is one of a number of points during the album where Prince hits upon an air of controversy and yet at the same time leaves a large ambiguity. I've heard so many theories regarding Prince's views on the issues at stake in this album that if Prince's intention was to create controversy and mystery, he succeeded superbly. Perhaps the single truest and most revealing verse, which nods towards Prince's true mantra, is "People call me rude. I wish we all were nude. I wish there was no black and white. I wish there were no rules." Interestingly, later in his career, he often changed the final line to wanting to party tonight, perhaps indicating a new submission to religious rulings. Prince has always been interested in creating a band with men and women, people from all backgrounds, races and talents. Prince was determined that he and his band would not be pigeonholed. This was a party for all people, from all walks of life, a place for the dispirited and broken, the misfits and outsiders, as much as the party people, the popular and the mainstream. Listen to the scream at 6 minutes. Prince's screams were finding a new vocal confidence on this album, and I believe that vocally he was finding he had no limits. His voice, his delivery and abandon was increasing. Prince was letting it all hang out, not like Dirty Mind with his provocative dress sense, although he's still very much dressed like no one else has ever dressed, but through his absolute, in-the-moment, screaming, unmatchable vocal range. Prince was ready to move from becoming a pretender to the throne to an icon, a legend. Controversy was released as a lead single 6 weeks before the release of the album. It has seen subsequent releases and deservedly found its way onto the hits collection.
Sexuality is all you ever need. Sexuality, let your body be free.
How many great Prince tracks start with a scream? This track flies out of the gates like a frantic, frenetic and delirious heightened declaration of a new political or religious movement. But this is actually Prince declaring the second coming and the birth of a revolution. And the good news is, we're all in. We don't need no money, we don't need no clothes, no segregation and no race. We just need sexuality and need to let our bodies be free. Prince formally announces the reproduction of a new breed. Leaders, stand up, organise. It's a rousing call to arms which becomes more and more urgent each time Prince repeats the refrain. Leaders, stand up, organise. Look out for the great drum crashes pounding after Prince sings Sexuality is all you'll ever need. This might be the easy part of the track to understand. Prince then confuses us all with a cryptic rant which slams into focus as the track shifts into a breakdown section. We live in a world overrun by tourists. Tourists, 89 flowers on their back, inventors of the Accu-Jack. They look at life through a pocket camera. What? No flash again? However, Prince's point becomes clearer as he urges parents not to let their children watch television until they know how to read, and that children are simply a product of their atmosphere.
Don't let your children watch television until they know how to read. Or else all they'll know how to do is cuss, fight and bleed.
Prince's drum programming and minimalist funk was beginning to really turn heads, and I have to say that this sounds so sonically amazing to this day, fresh, clean and perfectly arranged. Prince was using space as his idol and friend Joni Mitchell did, and also showing a continuing interest post-Dirty Mind of being willing to explore sexuality and spirituality in the same space. Prince viewed these two aspects in a new way, ignoring the false dichotomies of the past and essentially insisting that they both combined to make a person, two aspects of the same being. This point was never more profoundly made than when in the mid-2000s Prince changed the title when performing this track live from Sexuality to Spirituality and created a somewhat spirited debate in the Prince online community. Sexuality was the final single release of this project.
Are you ready for this one? Are you sure? Okay then, let's do this. Here we have Prince's first proper major seduction ballad, something that would become a staple of many of Prince's albums for the rest of his career. The track has a little bit of a backstory, having originally been recorded in 1979 with Andre Simone on lead vocals during a session led by Peppy Willie for Tony Sylvester, leader of the group The Main Ingredient. The session was intended to record demos for Sylvester to use for the group Little Anthony and the Imperials, who he was looking to produce. It's believed Do Me Baby wasn't intended for these demos and was recorded during extra studio time during the same sessions. It's also claimed by Andre Simone that he wrote the track, even though he received no credit by Prince for it on the album. It's possible that Simone came up with the groove and Prince wrote the lyrics to it and reworked it, much like he did with Morris Day's Party Up. Although, in Prince's autobiography, The Beautiful Ones, Prince says of the track, "This is my jam. Everybody can point to at least one song that is their jam and nobody else's. The first time I knew I had written one of those jams was Do Me Baby." Regardless of who originally came up with the track, one thing's for sure, Prince just knocks it out of the park. Coming in at 7 minutes 47 seconds, it's the longest track on the album, and it just oozes seduction. Prince manages to transform the act of lovemaking into music in a way no other artist ever has. Just listen to the synths and effects at the end of the track for the best example. Prince's vocals are spot on and his lyrics seductive, passionate and also straight to the point. Do me baby like you've never done before. Do it to me till I just can't take no more. Prince also delivers some of his best screams so far in some moments of just pure passion. Just incredible. Then from the 4-minute 50 mark, Prince lets his guard down in a way that's almost hard to listen to, as if you've actually stumbled in on him in the act. The groans and whispers by Prince are incredibly brave to put out on record for all to hear. From Prince toying with his lover saying, "Well, isn't it supposed to take a long time?" to the moment after climax as Prince says, "I'm cold, just hold me." He shows an incredible vulnerability in this section. Do Me Baby is an absolute classic, performed many times over the years, with an incredible live version only just recently released on the 1999 Deluxe to add to its standing. It was included on the Hits to B-sides, and rightly so, and was also sampled on the 1995 track He's Mine by Moke and Steph. Do Me Baby is the kind of track that old school mixtapes for your lover were made of. Just superb. Picking things up straight away after Do Me Baby comes the funky, poppy, synth-laden Private Joy. Prince reused the music from an earlier track titled Dear Uncle George, which may or may have not been recorded for inclusion on the Controversy album, and wrote new lyrics believed to be inspired by Susan Moonsey of Vanity 6, who Prince had previously been dating. This track is catchy as hell and has a real new wave sound, with Prince also making his first use of the Linn drum machine. The lyrics are all about Prince and his secret private joy. My little secret, my private joy. I could never let another play with my toy. It also has to be the only song with the lyric Orgasmatron. You're my little lover, Orgasmatron. Only I know, baby, what turns you on. There is also a really cool breakdown where Prince sings, I strangled Valentino, you've been mine ever since. If anybody asks you, you belong with Prince. There always seems to be something so cool when Prince name checks himself in a song. The track ends with a distorted guitar solo, which Prince would later reuse again in Poem and then Orgasm on the Come album. The track was also covered by LaToya Jackson on her 1984 album, Heart Don't Lie, after picking it herself as her favourite track from a group of tracks that were offered to her.
On almost any other Prince album, this track would be considered the wildcard, the strange, experimental, out-there song that fuels debate. On this album, however, there is stranger yet to come. The shortest track by some distance at under 2 minutes, this is one of the very rare moments when Prince addresses politics in a direct polemic. Whilst Prince has created many political tracks, they are rarely as specific and situational as this one. Prince's hoarse shouts launch the track against a machine gun fire of drum machine and whirring guitar. Do not wait to catch your breath for this track, because you won't. This jaunty juggernaut of a song pulses along, with each riff being answered by a loud, chorused handclap. It's a protest very reminiscent of Party Up. Prince pleads with Ronald Reagan to talk to Russia before it's too late, something still very much an ongoing issue, but at the time a reference to the tension of that time. The machine gun drums fire off repeatedly during the song, as if Prince was hiding in a foxhole, recording the song, hiding from the bombardment of the onslaught. Like the track Chaos and Disorder, Prince is merely a concerned observer pleading for change and denoting the lit fuse of potential war. Left-wing guerrillas loom large for Prince, and Reagan is warned that he might die before Prince gets to meet him. A firecracker warning explodes at 1 minute 26, before a sombre and disconcerting explosion ends everything a few moments' time. Here, Prince was warning about time running out to avoid war. By the next album, Prince had evolved his position to that of partying during the apocalypse, like it was 1999. Here he pleads, "Don't blow up my world."
Arguably the funkiest jam on the record. Just check out that bass and synth intro. This track was originally recorded in 1979 and was called Let's Rock, after a dance craze that Prince had seen in the clubs at that time. Prince wanted to release the track straight away, but Warner's refused. A little look into the future of what was to come there. Prince re-recorded the track for controversy and renamed it Let's Work so it wouldn't seem dated. The result is a super funky track, one that Prince would return to many times in his live shows. Lyrically, it could be seen as a metaphor for, well, you know, nothing can stop us now. I'm gonna show you how to work. Come on, let's have some fun. We'll work till the morning comes. Let me see you work. There is also a super funky synth break after the chorus, and once you've seen this song's live performance, you can't help but see Prince's leg shuffle dance every time you hear it. A great, funky, uplifting, feel-good track.
Any Christian wanted to be number one, but her kingdom never comes.
One of the strangest tracks of the Prince catalogue, this track has a feeling of being otherworldly and somewhat surreal, rather like the song Others Here With Us. Any Christian starts with the sound of very atmospheric synced flexes, a low-key drum beat and cascading waterfall of light digital strings. Prince's voice is altered, echoey and half-spoken, almost rapped. In the background, an understated guitar gnaws at the vocals, pulsing and yet restrained. The lyrics are the central commodity of this oddity, and speak of Annie Christian, a play on Antichrist, but in this instance a person who goes around killing black children and even murdering John Lennon. Prince was clearly affected by the murder of John Lennon. Prince actually performed a day after the event, just a mile or two from the scene of the crime. Prince clearly feels a sense of fear and angst regarding this, and states that until she is crucified, he will live his life in taxicabs. Prince also questions American society's response to Annie Christian and others. If you try and say you're crazy, everyone say electric chair, everybody say gun control. Prince even mentions Abscam, a high-level political scandal into corruption. Whilst Prince raises these issues, as before, it's not clear what his opinion is of them. This could well be deliberate as a comment of the very nature of controversy and avoids the kind of having a didactic polemic. Prince personalises the notion of Annie Christian, stating that she was a whore, always looking for some fun, being good was such a bore, so she bought a gun. Possibly the most divisive of the tracks on the album. It is fascinating.
Prince ends this album with a track that wouldn't have been out of place on Dirty Mind. I'm talking about, of course, Jack You Off. A rockabilly track about masturbation that is as cheeky as it is naughty. This is definitely one for the adults only, and I made the mistake myself of playing this album as a teenager with my mother in earshot. Jack You Off does what it says on the tin, as Prince goes through a whole list of scenarios in which he can jack you off. If you're looking for somewhere to go, girl, I'll take you to a movie show. We can sit in the back and I'll jack you off. I can't give you everything you want, but I can take you to a restaurant, and if you're not hungry, I'll jack you off. The most risque lyric comes as Prince justifies his position. I only do it for a worthy cause, virginity or menopause. This track, with its super catchy lead line, is one of those fun but odd tracks that only Prince could do, like Horny Toad, Delirious and Movie Star. This final track on the album also features Dr. Fink, Bobby Z and Lisa Coleman, and is the only full band track on the album. Performed regularly on the Controversy tour, Prince would also return to it on the Lovesexy tour in 1988. Jack You Off, a tongue-in-cheek, entertaining, rocking last track to another remarkable album by Prince.
Just can't believe all the things people say. Controversy.
Controversy paved the way for Prince's seduction classics. His vocal powerhousing, his interest in how people and the media viewed him. It also engaged Prince with the world of politics, something that would reappear over time in tracks such as America and Dear Mr. Man. Whilst Prince was not quite mainstream, yet he was vigorously knocking on the door, and his ambition was growing exponentially, as evidenced by his next project, a double album which extends his jams into new territory, set MTV on fire, and threw Prince into the world spotlight from which he never retreated. Prince was ready to party like it's 1999, and so was the rest of the world.